Why I think the Pittsburgh Steelers are the most underrated team moving into the 2023 season, and much, much more here on Mic Drop Sports. Welcome back, everybody. This is all about the game here on Mic Drop Sports. As I said before, we're going to be talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers and why I feel that they're one of the most underrated franchises moving into 2023. The Pittsburgh Steelers are set up to run the gauntlet here in the AFC North with quality opponents every week. It just seems as though AFC North football is a little bit different than the rest of the league right now. And the Ravens, the Bengals have been in a Super Bowl in the last couple seasons. You know, the Ravens are continually good season after season. They're just shitty in the playoffs. The Browns, they've been coming on a little bit, and they have Deshaun Watson, who should be better in year 2 in Cleveland, but we'll see. But the Pittsburgh Steelers usually run Ohio, and they don't lose often to those teams, so we'll see how that goes. The Ravens, it seems as though they've had the Ravens number also, and that they don't do bad usually in the division. Division opponents, they can usually stay pretty even keel. There are some outlier seasons here where they lose and drop a couple to a certain team or two. But however, for the most part, the Steelers are continually good against divisional opponents. However, the Steelers have always been, in my eyes, a team that plays down to their competition and loses to teams that they shouldn't. I know that's probably a stat that would prove me wrong if I were to look it up. However, it just seems like that as a fan of the ball club. What I want to talk about today, guys, though, is why I think they're underrated, and these so-called experts and these so-called insiders that, believe it or not, know the team better than everybody. But we all have access. We can all see what's going on. Yeah, they're in the building a little bit. They can see some of the behind-the-scene workings, but the team's not letting them see anything that they don't want them to see. So, I mean, just some of them think that they know everything, and it's just so crazy to me. It's like, let's have some conversation. Let's talk about it. So I'm not going to tell you, oh, this is it, man. This is exactly why the Steelers should win the Super Bowl this season. I'm not saying that. What I'm trying to say is these are just my ideas on what I feel they could do and what they have right now moving forward that gives me the feeling that they could have a special season. And the Steelers, they just get this every once in a while. They've won 6 Super Bowls, and yes, they won 4 in the 70s, but they've appeared in 4 in the modern era also. So they've only lost 2 Super Bowls. So you just get this feeling. I don't care if they actually lose a Super Bowl. As long as they're getting there, in my opinion, it makes the season exciting. You can watch it up to the last game. It's just awesome. I mean, as long as they get there, I feel like it's a successful season. I don't want them to lose it, but I feel like it's a successful season nonetheless. So talking here in episode 6 and why I think they're overlooked, I want to go over some of the obvious reasons as to why I think that they're being overlooked. And that is one, let's start here, one being the defense. The defense was pretty stout last season. They had the absence of TJ Watt, which really put a stick in their spoke. So that hemmed them up a little bit to where they weren't as good. But when TJ's in that lineup, they are a juggernaut defense. As you've seen in week 1 in Cincinnati, they totally disrupted Joe Burrow. They gave him fits. When TJ came back, he wasn't 100%. He said that on the football and podcast with Ben Roethlisberger and Spence, that he wasn't 100% throughout that season, but he did come back and he did make a difference, even at 70%, 80%. Excuse me. But with TJ Watt being there on that defense, it's just something, if he can stay healthy, they have a chance. Anytime that man's in the game, he's the best defensive player in football. When he's in the game, the Steelers got a shot, no matter what. And I don't care who they're playing, they have a shot. Now, I'm not saying the wheels can't fall off of it during the game, but usually they're competitive for the majority of the game. And when they do get blown out, it's usually, hey, they're sticking around till halftime. After halftime, they throw a pick, get a turnover, something stupid, and the wheels fall off after that. But usually when TJ's in that game, they are ultra competitive. and they have that edge. They have that team unity. And now with a healthy TJ Watt, adding players at that edge rusher, Alex Highsmith, another year of experience. Now you add into that defensive backfield with Patrick Peterson and folks like that. Keanu Neal, KZ in his year two, just so many things. And then we go in the draft and we get people like Keanu Benton. We get Corey Trice Jr. We get Joey Porter Jr. Now these guys are just in a lineup now with such quality veterans that they can't help but learn. Being in that building, you're going to absorb so much knowledge from these quality veterans that all these veterans have been needing was that young stud talent to come in and let them groom, to be able to bring that up with them and add that to the mix. So the Steelers have been looking for this for a long time. This defense has the veteran play. And here's my thing, guys, and I want to say this, and I'm not trying to say that these guys are going to be superstars, but if Joey Porter and Corey Trice can provide quality outside play on the corners for the Steelers defense, the Steelers are going to have the ability to move these veteran ball players around like a Patrick Peterson, putting him in the nickel and all that kind of stuff, moving them around a little bit, which is going to be able to create exotic sets for them. And they're going to be able to use players in ways they wouldn't be able to utilize them if those two weren't playing well. If they're playing well and able to tie up a couple people on the outside one-on-one, that trickles down to that whole defense. Just trickles down to make it something that they can do some special things. Like now, Patrick Peterson, have you ever seen him blitz? I don't know. I mean, maybe just do something crazy like that. I'm just saying you're going to be able to do different things, guys, different things. And when you have the ability to do different things, that keeps an offense on its toes because they don't know, one, where the pressure's coming, two, what kind of coverages, who's dropping where these players are going to be. You know, this guy starts out over here. You remember Troy Polamalu. He ends up right against the line of scrimmage, right as the ball snapped, going in, busting through the line. Just different exotic things. So that is one plus that the Steelers could have in their fortunes this season. The safety position with KZ, Minka Fitzpatrick, Keanu Neal. That right there, I think they need one more piece. So we'll see how it shakes out in training camp, who emerges as that like fourth guy back there. Or if you're going to use Patrick Peterson more as that guy because you're going to play him as a nickel cornerback. He doesn't have to be on the outside, so you can slide him in and out, deeper spots, more down in the box type areas, more against the line type things. So you can utilize him maybe in some different ways. So I'm not proclaiming to be some defensive guru and be able to tell you where everybody can play. But to the obvious eye, you or I, we could see that whenever you can get quality play from certain positions, that frees up others to be creative, to be different. And that's what you need in the NFL. Every season, you got to find something different. You got to be able to do things different. And I know you have traditional things you got to stick to fundamentally, that you have to stick to organizationally, but you still need to be able to add that wrinkle, that difference, that exotic look here and there. So that's one thing. The Steelers defense, the inside linebackers could be better than we think. Holcomb, Mark Robinson, Tanner Muse, Eldon Roberts, all those guys. I'm just trying not to leave anybody out, so I was looking down at my notes. So those guys, they might not be as bad as you think because there's going to be positional groups out there that are going to be mid-level to excellent at what they do, to where they may be able to help cover some of that up if there is a deficiency there, in which we don't even know if there is going to be a deficiency there yet, guys. This is a whole new group minus Mark Robinson. He's been there last season, but this is a whole different group, a big turnover. The Steelers wasted that pick on Devin Bush. He's now with the Seattle Seahawks. Got rid of Miles Jack after a one-year flyer on him. So let's just give these guys a chance before we write them off, considering they're going to be playing behind edge rushers of TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, Golden, Herbig, just big guys that are going to be rocking quarterback guy, and they're not going to be giving that guy time. That quarterback's not going to have a bunch of time to make a bunch of reads, man, because you have Larry Ogunjobi, Cam Hayward, just the list goes on and on and on. So the pressure should be phenomenal. They should be able to rush the passer like nobody else. And they should be able to keep those people that are rushing the passer fresh because they have more legs, man. They can bring people in, alternate, mix things up. So that may help the Steelers. And you have the best player on defense in TJ Watt. He was ranked 4th in the Pro Football Focus pass rushers list. Bullshit. Stupid. I've went over that on the channel before. TJ Watt, best player on defense, period. He's a game changer. He impacts the game the most. He intercepts the football, causes turnovers, fumbles, interceptions. He rushes the passer. He creates double team matchups. This guy is a game changer. He is one of the few defensive guys that can control and change a game, which is big, guys. Really, really big. So I would like to see how these inside linebackers are going to be able to handle that, and if it's going to make their play elevated, which I think it should. So let's not worry about them so much right now. So let's just say this defense as a whole, because we've touched on pretty much every little spot there just briefly. This defense as a whole should be stellar, guys. Should. Keyword should be stellar. And that is one thing that is going to be able to solidify this Steelers team right off the bat, especially in the early stages when you know the offense is going to try to be finding its legs, because they have a lot of different additions this year. They had some subtractions. The offensive line's rebuilt. So you know they're going to be trying to find their legs, their chemistry, and get rolling. So that defense is going to be key to that initial first 3-4 weeks of the season until the offense can get rolling. Hopefully they won't have that big of a learning curve. But with Matt Canada at the helm, what do you expect, guys? The guy's a dumbass. Let's just face it. So let's see what he can do. Hopefully he's better in 2023 and he can get this offense moving a little bit more fluid here coming Latrobe, when they're at Latrobe working on this shit, the preseason working on it. And hopefully once they hit that, game 1 versus the 49ers at Acrisure Stadium, that offense is starting to cook and they will be facing an excellent defense in the 49ers, but we'll see. Hopefully the offense is ready to go. So the defense is one of the biggest keys and one of the biggest things that I think is being overlooked right now. I know people think they have a good defense, but I don't quite think that they're looking at them to be an elite defense. I think they'll be ranked in the top 3 defenses in the NFL throughout the season. You stamp it. You heard it here first. They're going to be top 3 for sure. I'm telling you, I think so. Unless there's injuries and things of that nature, which just totally screws up the puzzle. And then they're going to be scrambling and clawing to hang on. So guys, that was the defense. I wanted to talk about the offense too a little bit. The offensive line now, with the additions of some different offensive linemen. You had that offensive line from last year. You had the returning center, Mason Cole, Dan Moore, Kevin Dotson, Chuksa Okorafor, those guys that were really starting to gel last year towards the end of the season, going down that 7-2 run. Then you add people like Sumalu, LaRaven Clark, Broderick Jones in the draft, Nate Herbig. Now you're adding some players here, guys. You're getting better. And throughout this offseason, you have a guy that played in a Super Bowl. Those types of guys. You have a first-round left tackle prospect who was wrote off as one of the biggest losers of the offseason so far. And I disputed that in episode 5 of the podcast all about the game. So go back and check that out. But Broderick Jones, we don't know what we have in him yet. We haven't seen it with pads on. So we can't evaluate an offensive lineman without pads. You can't evaluate a defensive lineman without pads. You just cannot do it. So we have to wait to see, especially in the offensive lineman group, what these rookie guys and what these second-year guys are going to do, and we're going to have to see what they look like when they're paired up, to find that right chemistry, that right package to be able to gel. So That offensive line could take big steps for a second-year quarterback in Kenny Pickett. Then you move on. Kenny Pickett has to have that stability in front of him, especially for these next 2 seasons. He has to be able to find his vision without worrying about getting his head taken off every damn snap. You can tell that he was kind of antsy in the pocket last season. He was just worried to death that he was probably getting killed. He had the concussions, all that shit. So let's see if just having a little bit of an upgrade at that offensive line position, and especially the tackles, and Samalu at guard, those guys, let's see if they can keep him upright and give him that extra second to be able to get through his progressions and find these weapons that the Pittsburgh Steelers have at the disposal of Kenny Pickett. You now have the Allen Robinson. Let's see what Calvin Austin can do. This is year 2 for Calvin, but it's going to be looking like his rookie season because we've never got to see him play due to that foot injury last season. So let's see what he can do. Let's see if he can blow the top off some of these defenses and create one-on-one matchups for players like George Pickens and Deontay Johnson. George Pickens already proved he can eat and tear things up and be able to create horrible mismatches for a defense because of his ability to catch the football, his route running ability. And then you have Deontay Johnson, who's arguably one of the best route runners in all of football. However, sometimes he just gets the drops and he drops the football over and over and over. Those things could happen too. But with some of the pressure being taken off Deontay, he doesn't have to do it all. You have George Pickens. You have Allen Robinson. You have, hopefully, the emergence of a Calvin Austin. Then you move into the tight end group. You're going to be getting help from Pat Freiermuth, Zach Gentry, a Connor Hayward, who's a tight end / fullback type guy, H-back type guy. Then hopefully you'll be able to see the emergence of a young Darnell Washington with his monster size. So the weapons are in abundance in the passing game. And then you add the running backs, Najee Harris, Jaylen Warren, who had phenomenal years last year. However, they were running behind a patchwork offensive line that wasn't very good at the beginning. So their numbers are going to look skewed also. But they were hard. They ran hard last season. They had a couple games where even the backup running backs shined, and Benny Snell and Anthony McFarland. So this year, let's see what Najee and Jaylen can do when they're 100% healthy, ready to go. No foot injury for Najee. He's running the football, and he's got an offensive line that can give him that first step. Let him break through that line of scrimmage and be able to do what he does with the football. A speedster type little wrecking ball in Jaylen Warren, who can get through that first initial line of scrimmage. He can hit a home run. The guy is quick, he's shifty, and he's a wrecking ball. He's a little wrecking ball, man. And he could probably prove to put up some big numbers alongside Najee. So the weapons are unlimited right now for Kenny Pickett. You can't get any more weapons than you really have right now if you're Kenny Pickett. So if you're Kenny Pickett going into year 2, you have to shine. You have everything at your disposal right now. The Steelers have set the table for Kenny Pickett to win a Super Bowl. Point blank, I'll say it. I don't think they are going to win a Super Bowl. I think it might take them a season or two to dethrone the Chiefs from that, or the Bengals. However, I think the Steelers are poised and set up right now to make a run deep into the playoffs and cause some major trouble and be able to knock off a Bills team, a Bengals team, a Chiefs team, and get somebody, one of these big name teams out of the playoffs and cause an upset. Because I think the Steelers have what it takes. Now we move into special teams, guys. Special teams is one of my bigger concerns, and I haven't heard a lot of people talk about it, but last year, Chris Boswell was absolutely inconsistent with the injuries, things of that nature, and it just didn't seem as though it was a Boswell type year. However, they say that every time he gets an extension or gets paid, he doesn't have a good year, which I think is true. The stats have proven that. But then, if he doesn't, if he has a subpar or middle of the road type year, that could spell trouble for the Pittsburgh Steelers, considering their red zone offense last year was abysmal. It was bad, in my opinion, bad. They were scoring less than 57% of the time in the red zone at home, touchdowns rather. So Boswell's going to have to make sure that he comes in when they need him. Hopefully that percentage increases for 2023, but on the road especially, they were in the 40 percentile. Boswell got to be able to be clutch this year, and he's got to be able to make some big kicks and be able to get the Steelers to some places some new heights, because he's going to be called on in a game that's 20-20, fourth quarter, 30 seconds left. They're on the 35-yard line. They're going to call for the Boss. And he's going to have to be able to hit those kicks like he has in the past. And he's going to have to win some ball games, especially in the playoffs. It always comes down to something like that, and you need a clutch guy. Now let's move, though, into the punt game, where I find it to be so crazy, guys. I can't stand what Harvin has done right now. He'll boom one, man. He'll boom it out of the damn stadium, crush it, really pin a team back down deep, and then he'll shank the next 4 punts. Shank them. Like, what the hell are you doing, dude? But I think Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh coaching staff, especially Danny Smith, I feel that Harvin's going to have a short leash this season. I think if he's shanking punts and it's week 6, 7, 8, they're going to get rid of him. I think that might be it. I think he has till their bye week. If he's shanking punts, I think the Steelers are going to be bringing in people, auditioning them to see what they can get to get through the season, because they cannot afford to not be able to flip the field when they go 3 and out on possession. They just cannot. It sets that defense up in a bad way, and special teams can prove to play pivotal roles in a game, big roles, and it could kill you. It could kill you, especially a punter. A punter could kill you. Shanking one off your foot, giving a team the ball at the 45-yard line, your 45-yard line, when you were pinned back, and when they should have had it at their 25, 30. Yeah, that's a big difference. That's a 25, 30-yard difference. Like, you can't win ball games with that happening on a consistent basis. And I felt like Harvin did that at points last season and the year before. So we'll see how that goes. But again, guys, the Pittsburgh Steelers are a sleeper team. The experts saying that, they may make the playoffs. I think that they could make some noise in the playoffs, guys. And I'm not just saying that being a homer, being a fanboy. I'm not just saying that. Look at the paper. On paper, this team should be a good ball club. And if you're paying attention to anything, their interviews, their mandatory minicamp sessions, their non-mandatory sessions, the rookie minicamp groups, these players seem to be gelling. They seem to be coming together. And as a Steeler fan, you see this ever so often. It's a rare thing, actually. You see a team gelling. You see them giving a shit about each other. You see them putting in that extra effort, that extra film study, that extra work, showing up the voluntary things, really going down to Florida, working with your quarterback if you're a skilled player. Things of that nature. You see that only every once in a while. And since Kenny Pickett's arrival, I feel that he's really started to rally this ball club. Mitchell Trubisky, too. Mitchell tried his best to do that also last season, bringing guys down to Florida when we had the tragic loss of Dwayne Haskins. Those types of things. That's the things that bring these teams together. That extra stuff, guys. And I think the Steelers are poised for a big run. And I'm going to say it now. I think they're going to make some noise in 2023 in the playoffs. And I think they're not going to be overlooked after this season. And Kenny Pickett will be in that top 5, 6 quarterbacks in the AFC, and where people will start to give him a little bit of respect. And I think it's going to happen quicker than we all thought. And I think this could be it, guys. I think we should all buckle in and get ready to enjoy the ride. Thanks for stopping by, guys. I'm going to quit blowing you up here and talking your ear off. But those subjects were starting to eat at me a little bit, them being overlooked. So thanks for stopping through again, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for helping me grow the channel so much. We're well on our way to 400 subscribers, so keep hitting that subscribe button. Smash the shit out of it, guys. Share the channel. Like the videos as much as possible. Help us out. Comment on the videos. Let me know what your predictions are for the 2023 season for the Pittsburgh Steelers and what you see as a deficiency or a plus. Let me know, guys. Chat it up in the comments. I'll always reply. It may take me a day or two to get back. However, I'll always reply to every comment that's put on there. for as long as I can. And let's just keep growing it, guys. I appreciate it so much. And thanks for stopping by Mike Drop Sports and the podcast all about the game.